Welcome to Country Kickback, where you'll hear the latest music from performers you already know and discover new music and artists from around the world. If you have an artist you'd like us to chat with, reach out to the team at countrykickback.com, or you can watch our live videos and more by following us on social media and YouTube. Here is your host, Danni Shaw, with the latest from Country Kickback.
Hello. Hi, Kaz. You're first into the room tonight. Feels like ages since I've spoken to you, Kaz. I know we were going to have a show last week and we had to cancel because Rachel wasn't very well. And then it just snowballed. I've had so many live shows and been on the road a lot lately with shows. So I didn't get to throw an extra one in for us. So let us know last weekend, where were you? Did you go to CMC Rocks? Did you go to other shows around? It's been really busy for music on my end. We've had a lot of different things going on and working with some amazing artists and different organizations. So it's been lots of fun. But yeah, tell us who you're listening to and what you've been up to. And if you've got any shows this coming weekend, because although it's Wednesday, it feels like it should be Friday. We've got Jordan waiting for us in the green room, so we're going to welcome him into the room and have a bit of a chat. So if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the comments. We'll try and get to them as soon as we can. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome for the first time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's so great to finally be on. Yeah.
It's so good. Are you at home at the moment? Are you in Brisbane at the minute?
Yeah, home in Brizzy, just battling the humidity as we do here.
Yeah. It's cold here, so I'm really jealous.
Meet halfway. I'll give you some of our heat. I'll take the call.
That sounds perfect. I was complaining to a friend that I've been doing a lot of work with, and I said it's really cold today, and then he sent me a photo of the snow in his backyard. And I'm like, oh, okay, I probably can't complain that much, but it still shouldn't be this cold. Jules has already popped in. Hi, Jules. We were just saying how wonderful you are. Thank you for sending Jordan across. But yeah, it's
yeah.
Are you based? You're based in Brisbane, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm based here. Yeah, from the Gold Coast originally, but moved here a few years back. Yeah.
Yeah, so you haven't moved too far.
No, it was meant to be a bit of a pit stop on the way to Melbourne, but then just honestly, just love the city, love the vibe here, and stuck around, and definitely glad I have, because it's such a nice place. It's like still close to the beach, but the city is not too crazy like a Sydney or a Melbourne in terms of how busy they feel. So it's nice.
It's that's a good move, and I do. Brisbane and the Gold Coast are two beautiful cities. If I had to move to a city, that'd be where I would go, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty good. When you get used to the heat and the humidity. I mean, you never really get used to the humidity, but you try. You tell yourself you're used to it, and then it's
not so bad. Yeah. You can talk yourself into it if nothing else.
Exactly. I've been doing that all my life, so.
Yeah, you've been living. Yeah, so you're as used to it as you're going to get. If you're not used to it by now, it's not going to happen.
Pretty much.
Now, I know that we're here to have a chat about your single Two Hands, but I was also saying to you before we went live, can you tell us a bit about your music story and how you decided to go into the music industry and why you've gone down this path?
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a funny one. I think, just to preface the jump into gigging and recording, I just have to start probably when I was 12, 13 years old. So my family, there's never really been any musicians in my family, and my granddad always is. Yeah. And my granddad always used to say, in like his really old voice, it's like, there are no musical Merricks. And so as a kid, I'm not even kidding. It was actually, I just had a family reunion a few weeks ago, and that saying came up about 10 times. So, I sort of bucked the trend. But, I found, so my sister bought a guitar once, didn't play it, so it sat in the garage. And as lots of 12-year-old kids do, going through the garage trying to find something cool to play with, and then found the guitar and thought, I might just try to learn something just for a laugh. And then, lo and behold, just kept doing it, and then just fell in love with songwriting. Probably at like 14, I started writing, and just was something that I just started to love, because I've always loved writing. I'd done short stories since I was 10, so just transitioned really smoothly. And I was never very good at guitar when I was younger. I was all self-taught, and I'm left-handed playing a right-handed guitar, so it took a good 10 years to get it right, I reckon. But
you're still on the right. You're still on the right hand. You haven't switched.
I wouldn't know how to play left-handed now, honestly. It's no, I was jibbed, but so I sort of went through high school learning that, and then I sort of discovered Bob Dylan at about 16, 17, and was sort of like, how is this guy so good at songwriting, and why am I so bad? I didn't know people could get that good. So so it pretty much put me down the path of, I went probably from playing a bit more heavy rock, sort of emo metal songs in high school, to literally flipping the switch and doing much more folk, country, blues, Americana, sort of deep diving into that world. And it's just, for me, that's the the storytelling is what gets me in songs, and that's what I've always loved doing. And then finding the greatest of the great at storytelling in songs, I was hooked. And then from there, just couldn't stop. And then decided, I would have been about 22, that I might try to record something. How hard can it be? I know. I was a bit crazy, and I thought, I'm going to record an EP in a day. That sounds it's
quick.
4 songs. How hard can it be? And that EP never saw the light of day, so it did not turn out very well, safe to say. But I was hooked. Once you start recording, and then you play your first shows, I think it just, if it's for you, it's really for you, and you just can't stop. And I've just basically gone hard ever since. I think since then I've released 2 EPs, 2 albums. Just love it. It just becomes an expensive addiction,
Yes, it does. You think that it's a healthier addiction, but it's really not. Not for the bank account.
It's an emotional roller coaster, that's for sure. But we love it, right? When the highs are the absolute best, and we don't talk about the lows. So.
We don't remember them. We forget them every time.
Exactly. So, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, you've had it's a really interesting story. Although your grandfather was saying there's no musicians, was there always music playing? Were you big listeners to music?
Definitely. I think particularly my dad always put CDs on every weekend, and he would have to be honest, he did play a little bit of Bob Dylan, but I really couldn't stand his voice as a kid, so I was like, okay, who's this guy? It sounds so grumpy. But lots of the Beatles, Deep Purple, Bob Marley. My dad's got a very eclectic taste. ABBA. He went all over the shop. So it was always fun as a kid. I think particularly the Beatles I loved, and I think I still appreciate them for the same reason now, that their music was just so catchy, easy to listen to, and you just can listen to it over and over again. It's just incredibly timeless. And I didn't know how to probably voice that as a kid, but I just felt it. I think that's what. That's you feel music, right, more than anything.
Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes that's the whole point of music. You can't always explain what you're feeling in words, but the song, it's just right. That's what you're thinking and feeling. But it's funny. I often think about like the Beatles and a lot of the greats, and the songs that have been in the world for years that are still being played now in the upcoming generations. It's something that we don't see as often anymore. Music that stays around for a long time, and that sort of grounding, I think, is a lot of musicians have come with those groundings of the greats. Doesn't matter what genre they're in, but that they seem to talk to us all still, which is something that we're all learning and enjoying.
Absolutely. And I think with people like the Beatles, and I think in fact all the greats, one thing that's always stood out to me, and something I've always tried to learn from, is that they explore different mediums, and they're always pushing their own boundaries and stepping out of their own comfort zones. And I think there's such power in doing that. And you really, when you do, and I think when you experience it yourself and you throw yourself in the deep end and you see what comes out, it's I think it's where you as a musician really expand and do your best work. I truly believe it. And I think all the greats have that in common. I really do.
Absolutely, I agree. Couldn't agree more. Now, I know that you're sitting there with your guitar. Would you be able to play a song for us now?
Absolutely. Here's one I played earlier.
Jules has said that she loves the humidity and she loves Brisbane. I actually love Brisbane too, Jules. I'm not a fan of the humidity, but I do love the heat. So, I could put up with it.
Yeah, and look, I won't lie. I've literally got a dehumidifier in my room for the instruments. Not for me, but that's how hot it gets, Jules. So you got to protect the instruments, and the humidity is the enemy. That's fair.
That's fair. Now I'm going to give you the room and let you do whatever you like.
All right. Well, I figured since I just put out a new song on Friday, I may as well give it a go, even though it's a band song. Playing it's always fun.
We'll look forward to it.
Yeah, two hands. Two hands, take away your sins. Two hands done before the show begins. Two hands, giving at charity. Two hands are lifting me up from my knees. Two hands, going crazy like sharpeners and guns. Two hands won't be lazy. Two hands are reaching for the sun. If I can only tell which way we will fall. Well, two hands around my waistband. Two hands are going a Mars. Two hands are breaking my heart. Two hands are chasing humanity. Two hands took my brother from me. Two hands caught in the crossfire. Two hands are not coming home. Two hands around my chest. Two hands push me away. Two hands lead the president-electric campaign. Two hands driving me insane. I don't know what to do. Do 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 Two hands around my face. Two hands wipe away tears. One hand grabs the other. One hand swallows the fear. If I could only tell which way we will fall. Let one hand grab the other. Let one hand hold us both. Two hands belong to us all. Do 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 do
Thank you. I really love the song. Is that the first time you've done it acoustic live? Because you do it normally with the band.
Yeah, look, it's the second time. It definitely, I'm still experimenting with how to play it solo a bit, but yeah, it's always funny going into the first bridge and just thinking about the big guitar solo, like do do. So you might do, but no, it's such a fun song to play, and yeah, just so glad I could finally release it after all this time. So yeah.
When I was going to ask you, when did you write this song, and what was the ideas behind writing? Was there a reason that it came to your mind when it did? How did it all unfold?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a funny one. So I think I started writing it in 2018.
Yeah.
So I was sort of journaling the lyrics. So that never was really a fully fleshed out or formed song, but I was sort of going through a period of time, just sort of reflecting on, I think, being a good person, like what does that really mean? And then through that train of thought, it was, on to what does it mean to be, a bad person? Do good people do bad things, vice versa? Is it as black and white as some people like to make it out? And yeah, it's sort of, I went down that rabbit hole, and that's sort of where the lyrics sort of started to come from. But yeah, as I said, it was just sort of quick words that came to my mind. I think I was literally walking home from the train station at the time, and yeah, wrote them down, and then as you do, you lose them. So I literally have no idea where I put them. Moved house. Yeah, so they were gone. Because I remember it was so annoying when I wrote the song, well, most of the song. I thought, oh, that was actually some good words, but where did I put it? And I was like, oh, I'm destined to never find them again. But yeah, sure enough, pandemic hits, and when you have nothing else to do, what do? You sort out your life. So so I thankfully found the lyrics again, and fleshed out the music part of it. And yeah, I straight away knew this is definitely the first song I'm recording for the next album. It was not long after I'd finished the last album, so it was a bit too late after that release.
Yes.
But yeah, but I'm so glad, to be honest, that I didn't do it then, because yeah, recording it with the band was it was such an amazing experience. Particularly after the pandemic, I did the last album literally in this room in my little home studio. So it was very impersonal. It was fun, but it was so impersonal. Whereas the latest bunch of recordings I've done, we did in a studio called Airlock, which is this beautiful studio in just out of Brisbane, in a place called Samford, and it's just a huge room. So it was literally me and the band all in the room together, and yeah, it was something else. We just stood there, we all made eye contact, the click track starts, and you just start playing, and it just straight away you just knew this is going to be magic, and it really
yeah, it sounds like you felt at home, and yeah, the experience. And comparing those two experiences, obviously, like doing it at home, were there parts of each that you liked as well? Because obviously doing it at home, as you said, it's impersonal and you don't have that atmosphere around you, but were there parts of each that you enjoyed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best part about recording at home, as funny as it sounds, is it's like a judgment-free zone. So you don't have to worry. You could try the weirdest parts. No one never has to hear them or know about them. Yeah, and yeah, I did a song on my last album called Toowong. It was the first song I wrote in the suburb of Toowong when I moved here, and it's super synthy and all over the shop. And I don't think there's any chance I ever write that song or do the music to it without doing it on my own, because it was so out of my comfort zone. I never do synth, it was the first time trying it. But so much fun. Whereas when you're live with the band, it's just like it's all this creative energy, like the five of us plus the engineer plus the room. You're looking around the room and you see, Powderfinger Ari's on the side of the room, and you're thinking, wow, this is something special.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's different, but it's yeah, it's incredible. I was so much fun recording with other people.
Yeah, and it's that because obviously you all know each other reasonably well, but you've got that shared passion for music, and that drives you even more when you're singing, and you don't even realize, I don't think, half the time when people are doing that, because that's what we feel off of that is the audience. That's what keeps us in when you're live, isn't it? That getting lost in what you're doing, because it's such a big passion, and then we sort of feed off of that as we're listening, and then probably vice versa as it goes round. But
yeah, absolutely.
Understand that. So you're saying this is the first one that you wanted to record for the album, and have you got the album fully ready? Are you still trying to work things out of what your order you're going to release things? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, Jules, but, this is the beauty of being an independent. I'm my own boss, so I mean, so the album, so we did the I think it's 5-6 days in the studio to record the songs. So now it's just a matter of getting them all ready and making sure that they're all mixed and sounding nice. But yeah, I think, and that's another thing about doing it live. I think when you find that groove, and then what was actually fantastic about recording these songs is once we'd finished them, we then took a whole day just to re-listen, and then basically it was no rules, try anything. So
Yeah.
everything from doing some shaker percussion to, and I'm not even kidding here, ripping paper to see sound on, like, to rip paper and line it up with a snare drum, and try some synth, and just add whatever we want, and then we can just take it all back if we want to. It was sort of like what I was saying before, like me on my own, but I mean, the people in the band, particularly one of my keys players' name is Toby Alexander, and I always say he's basically like Warren Ellis in the way he's so incredibly creative. He just does things that you think, how has he heard that?
He's one of those people.
Yeah, he's unbelievable, and he has no idea just how good he is. I always have to remind him, but you just you watch him work, and we would just often just look at each other, like the others and I, and think, how is this guy so good?
Yeah. Where does it come from? Yeah, your brain just doesn't even go there at that different level.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Sounds like it's been a great process, and that you guys have had an absolute ball doing it, which is exactly what you should be as an independent artist doing it. But you were saying before with this song particularly that you had the lyrics and you had words written down. Is that how you would normally write a song? Or are you a bit of the lyrics and the words come before the melody? Is that your normal process?
Yeah, look, I would say I generally try to write them like symbiotically. I feel like they need, especially with songwriting, unless if you get lucky, I feel like writing the lyrics and the music together is really important. Even just purely from a technical standpoint, just getting the phrasing, getting everything lined up. I think you can do that in a really good way when you write them together. It doesn't always work like that. Literally, like, there's so many songs I've literally recorded that I've written separately. But I think you always have to try to do is, even if you're just writing the words without a guitar in your hand, you just try to just visualize it. Yeah, and I've always sort of songwriting, like, the lyrics are the story, like the movie, and then you're writing the soundtrack. So the music is just telling that story or adding emphasis to the story you're trying to tell. So I think you've always got to keep that in mind. Sometimes you do just write a poem and it turns into a song and you get really lucky. But for me, that's the exception, not the rule. So
yeah, that makes sense. And do you do a lot of your writing alone, or do you do that with the band and different people?
I generally do it all alone, to be honest. I always get a bit shy when it comes to co-writing and doing stuff like that. And I don't know why. I'm not a very shy person, but I've just tried it, and I just struggle to really express myself in those situations. But it's something I really want to try to do. But I think for me, and even like I go back to when I was writing short stories as a kid, like I would never write around my siblings. I would have to write alone. And I think it's just because it's such a personal thing for me. Even when I was back then, I was writing basically Lord of the Rings ripoffs, so they didn't really count. um, but yeah, I think it's such a personal thing for me, and I always just spend so much time visualizing what I'm writing. I think I've always found it hard to translate that into co-writing and things like that. But I'd like to try again. Like I want to keep trying and plugging away, and eventually, I'm sure something has to come from it.
Something will happen, definitely. But it's also like when you're writing a song, it's a very vulnerable thing. Like it's a very raw thing to write because it's personal. So I can understand it would be quite hard at times to share that because when it comes together as a whole song, you almost feel a bit protected from that rawness because it's done. But when you're first putting those things out there, it is a really raw, personal, and it'd have to be quite scary to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And I think that's probably why, like, as I said, I think I was about 22, 23 when I first played a show, but I've been writing for 10 years. So it's such a hard thing to step out of the comfort zone, to share, let alone to try to do co-create.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I've definitely got really lucky with my current band, is that I feel like I can bring them a song and they just will find their parts. They never overplay. There's no egos in the room. We all just want the best for the song, and it can be very hard to find in music. And I'm very lucky with the people I play with.
It is really special. Chelsea has just popped in and said hi.
Hey, Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea. And I was doing a bit of looking at your website, and you've got really close now because I thought, your launch isn't till April, but it is actually not that far away.
Yeah.
So the 1st of April, you're playing in Sydney. And
yeah, no, I love Sydney. It's funny. I always, as I said, like I initially was going to move to Melbourne, and I always seen Melbourne as the music city. But I think particularly the last few years, like over the pandemic era of music, Sydney has sort of become like my second home. It's just seems to be the place where the stars align to play when everywhere else, even the Gold Coast down the road was falling through. I just somehow kept being able to book shows in Sydney, and the crowd, it's so, especially over the last few years, it was so scary booking a show thinking, well, I'm going to lose lots of money from this, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then to have people turn up, and then I just really give so much love and attention when you're in the room. And honestly, particularly last year, going to Sydney again twice, both shows were just fantastic. So coming out, this year, I do want to do a bit of a bigger tour later in the year, but I thought, where do I want to play for two hands? And it was a no-brainer for me. It was Brisbane and Sydney. Just book those shows, and then I thought if anything else falls together, then that's great. But these are the ones I really want to play.
They're the two really you want to start up with those, and break into it, which is lovely. So can people still get tickets to those?
Yeah, absolutely. I know because the room we're doing in Sydney is we're doing seated. I figured because it's going to be more of a photo show, so we're doing seated. So there are limited seats. So if you're keen to go, definitely grab a ticket because I don't think we'll have any at the door. But yeah, in Brizzy as well, that'll be a bigger room. So definitely tickets available for that. So yeah, wherever you are, find your way there. And
if you're there, please send us videos and photos because I want to see.
Yeah.
Have you got anything on the bucket list that you want to do with touring or releasing? Is there, anywhere specific that you haven't played that you really want to?
Yeah, well, it's actually I was funnily enough thinking about that yesterday. So before the pandemic hit, I was going to try to do my goal was to do a show in every state and territory. So I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be my goal for the year. Pandemic, and then obviously I've forgotten about that until literally yesterday. So I'd love to look at doing that again. But besides that, I mean, I think for me, trying to do a few more festivals, and eventually one day I'd love to just play in America or Canada. Just go. I suppose not even because you have to go there to make it. I think it's more so just I think about so many of the artists who have inspired me over the years, and I think I'd love to just go see the lands that they've grown up in and been in, and play. I could play a cafe and I'd be thrilled. I wouldn't bother me at all. But I think, I'd just love to experience places like that and play shows over there as well. It would be pretty special.
It would be amazing. And I can completely understand that, because I remember it was Slim Dusty's funeral, actually, and I actually bussed back to Melbourne after, a day or two after the funeral. And I was my first trip alone, and just going through all those towns and all the different songs that you kind of feel like those places, and it feels so different when you actually get to see them. And that was my first sort of time experiencing that and watching that unfold. So I can completely understand wanting to go to where your memories and feelings have come from, essentially.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like I imagine on that bus trip, because I did a road trip to Melbourne once, and I just, it's amazing when you stop off at towns and you see the like, I remember Glen Rowan, like stopping off there, the Ned Kelly town, and just being like, this place is so different. And I think, and that's why I think like America and Canada would be a dream for a different reason. But I think Australia has just got so much to offer, and I think people always, I think people get to, I think as well, like me included, I wanted to go to Melbourne because I thought that's where I have to be. But then you realize there's just so much, there's so many vibrant, buzzing places in this country alone. Let alone, you go over to Western Australia and you look at the Kimberleys, and you look at Broome, a place like Broome that, if you look at the map, it's in the middle. It's like nowhere. It's not city at all. But then you see it, and it's incredible. And I think places like that, I'd love to do more regional shows like that as well, and just get to people as you can, really. I think especially now that the world's opening up a bit more, I think there's no reason you can't. I think
no. And I think and we're appreciating it so much more, but also the more you do that, the more from a creator of music side, the more stories you're going to have, the more things that you're going to want to write about as well. So it kind of it's a big circle. The more you do, the more you release, and it's a big exciting.
Absolutely. Because I think, especially with music, there's no substitute for life experience at all. Like, I look at some of the songs I wrote as a teenager about love and about heartbreak, just sort of guessing.
Yes.
And then you get look at and you have your first love and your first heartbreak, and you learn and you live, and you experience loss, and then you see what it's all really like, and it's not as romanticized as you thought it was before you were
before your bubbles burst.
Exactly. But that's all part of living, I guess.
Well, before we go, I know I've taken up so much of your time already. Can you tell us where's the best place to keep an eye on you? Was it social media, your website? What's the best spot to, new music coming out, new tours and tickets? What's the best spot for you?
Yeah, well, honestly, social media, I think Facebook or Instagram are probably going to be your two focuses. I'm not much of a TikToker. I sometimes fall down the rabbit hole of watching the videos, but then I'm like, I just couldn't do it. So I just like to play and share stories and that sort of jazz. So I'm a bit boring like that. I don't do any of the viral stuff. But if you like my music, then you should hopefully like the content. So come say hello there.
Yeah, so if you have a look in the top of the comments too, whether we're live or you're watching on replay, I have actually got the link tree up there, your link tree, so people can subscribe to whatever platform that they want to on there. So make sure you have a look at that and follow along and have a listen to Two Hands. And if you go through the links, you'll see other music as well from Jordan. So have a look at that and let us know what you think. Send us some messages and let us know. I'm so sorry I have taken up so much of your time tonight, but thank you for joining us.
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fantastic. And Sia, once again, it's great to be finally on the show. So I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome anytime. We'd love to have you back. So next single we want to hear, but let us know how you go with your single night, your launch nights, because it'd be lovely to hear how they run and even some photos or
yeah,
videos.
absolutely. Right? Yeah, I definitely will let you know. I'm so excited for them. So yeah, I'll be talking a lot about them, I'm sure, afterwards.
That is fantastic. Well, guys, we are back tomorrow night. We're back with Ella and Sienna tomorrow night at 7:00 my time. So have a look at the ad, because if you click on that, you'll get a reminder with whatever time zone you're in, because I don't want to leave anybody out or get you muddled. So make sure you click on that and we'll be back then. But in the meantime, stay safe. And thank you so much, Jordan. It's been lovely to have you on the show.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's been great.
We'll see you guys later on.
See ya.